Hello, in this video I'll go through a few problems from practice problem set 1-5 with you. We are continuing here working on writing conclusions by themselves and doing so in such a way that we make sure that we write the conclusion as a complete sentence expressed as a statement that makes sense by itself and that contains all and only the information that the arguer intends as part of the conclusion. There are times when to do so, to write a conclusion in that way, we will need to add some words when we're writing the conclusion by itself, pulling it out of context and away from the premises. We've already seen one situation in which that occurs, that is when imperatives, commands or orders, are used to express conclusions. We need to add some words in order to express them as statements. And there are at least three other kinds of situations in which we will have to add some words. I want to illustrate each of these three situations for you with a different problem from 1-5. Starting with number 2. Here, a student who was the editor-in-chief of the CSUN Daily Sundial at the time he wrote this, was writing an article responding to some criticisms that had been made of the newspaper. And here's one sentence from that piece that he wrote. He said, "The Sundial is run by real CSUN students and therefore not perfect." All right, we have the conclusion introducer, therefore, so let's make a note of that. Now notice that what we have after the conclusion introducer, therefore, is only two words, not perfect. That clearly is not a complete sentence, so we need to rewrite it in such a way that we make it into a complete sentence. We can just go back to the beginning of the sentence in which the student has expressed both the premise and the conclusion to pick up the subject, the sundial, and complete the sentence of the conclusion by saying the sundial is not perfect. Let me move now to number 5, which reads as follows. Most of us have little knowledge of history, and hence the question of learning from it seldom arises. I hope you notice the conclusion introducer, hence. After the conclusion introducer, hence, we have the following. The question of learning from it seldom arises. Now that doesn't make sense by itself because it contains the pronoun it without telling us what the pronoun it refers to. We cannot have in conclusions, we cannot have pronouns without reference. What does it refer to in this passage? Well, go back earlier in the passage and you'll see that history is the only thing to which the pronoun it could refer. So to write the conclusion in a way where it makes sense by itself, I could write the question of learning from history seldom arises. Let me go now to, let's see, number 11. I actually don't know how to pronounce the family name of the geological consultant who is mentioned in this passage, so I might not be pronouncing it correctly. But here goes. Kerry C. of Caltech was the geological consultant for the tunnel project for the Red Line. C determined that earthquakes might occur on the Hollywood Fault on average every 1,000 to 2,500 years. Besides the fact that quakes do not occur at regular intervals, C did not know the date of the last quake. Thus, there was no telling when the next one would strike. We have the conclusion introducer, thus, after thus, in the place of the conclusion, or in the position of the conclusion, this says, there was no telling when the next one would strike. I don't know what that means if I were to see it all by itself, because I wouldn't know what the next one referred to. One is being used here to refer to an earthquake. So we do have to specify that, and that's basically the same principle as in number 5. But what I'm going to write now on the board for the conclusion is going to be incomplete. Let me at least get it started, though. There was no telling when the next earthquake would strike. This is indeed now a complete sentence, and it makes sense by itself. However, if we leave it at this, we're leaving out specificity that the context, in this case provided by the premise or premises, or could be by other material in a passage too. But we're leaving out specificity that the arguer clearly intends as part of their conclusion. This geological consultant for the red line did not draw the conclusion that there was no telling when the next earthquake would strike anywhere in the whole wide world. That's not what this geologist was being consulted about. The geologist was being consulted about the construction of the red line, and in particular, the effect of the Hollywood fault on that subway tunnel. So, we need to build in the reference to the Hollywood fault in order to avoid a very bad misrepresentation of this geologist's conclusion. Okay, I hope that this has been helpful to you. And again, as always, please ask me any questions that you may have. Happy to help you as much as I can. I'll talk to you again soon, and take care.